Welcome back to the Christian Capitalist Podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Rich Sanders. Thanks so much for joining us today as we talk with Gabby Hamilton from the Walton Chamber of Commerce here in Northwest Florida. A beautiful place to live and place to work and develop new business. We hope that you'll follow this podcast, follow us on social media, and like and share all you can exactly with this important message. You can always find out more about our movement at christiancapitalist.life. And of course, there you can not only follow more episodes of the podcast, get on social media and track down what we're doing, but buy a copy of the book if you so choose. But first, we need to talk with Gabby. Good morning, Gabby.
Yes, good morning, Rich.
I'm so glad you got the memo about wearing pink.
I know. We wear pink, we match.
Exactly. And y'all may not be able to tell, Gabby's got pink eyeshadow on. Looks terrific. Fantastic. For a wonderful Tuesday here on the Emerald Coast. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am
glad
doing
to
great.
have you in our office today.
I know. This is great. We're in the conference room of the Walton Chamber of Commerce here in front of a live studio audience, and so glad to be able to share the story of the Walton Chamber Foundation. So, Gabby, let's get started by just talking about how you got here. Are you from Walton County originally?
So I was born in Michigan. My father passed away when I was 1, and my mom's like, we're leaving. And so 1 year old, we moved to Defuniak Springs, Florida, and this is where I've been my whole life.
Isn't it something?
I did go to Pensacola for college, but then I came back here, and I feel like my heart is in Walton County. My heart is to build the bridge between the South and North End and make sure that everybody is treated equally and that all the businesses are sought after and everybody has the opportunity to be successful in business here.
I love that, building a bridge between North and South. So let's start with that.
Yeah.
Many people are surprised to hear that the business climate in Walton County is as busy as it is because they think, well, especially when they come from northern states, oh, it's just the beach. And then once the season's over, everybody goes home, except for snowbirders. So let's talk about the business climate here in Walton County. What's your experience been with that through the chamber?
Yeah, I would say our business climate is booming. We are one of the fastest growing counties in the state of Florida, Freeport being the fastest growing city.
Wow.
In the state of Florida. Businesses are coming here from California and New York. There's a gross map where you can see the money from other states that come into Florida based on their businesses, and it's super exciting. We have a lot to offer in Walton County. We're one of the only counties that have 2 railroad spurs. We have one in Mossy Head, and we have our I-10 ramps that have railroad spurs. So we have one in Mossy Head. We have one in Defuniak, so you can get on the I-10 in 2 places in Walton County. We also have farmland in Paxton, which goes to the Alabama line, which is my alumni. I graduated from Paxton High School.
All right.
And so I love our agriculture scene out there and the farmland and what they have going on. We also have Freeport, which has the bay, and then we have South Walton, which has the beaches. So we have 26 miles of beaches here, and it's just really beautiful. You can literally go from a farm where you've got pigs and cows at school and you're learning to castrate them to fishing and planting seagrass. So there's a wild variety of opportunities here that not everybody sees from the outside.
Farm to sea. I love it.
I
love it. So one of the things, well, first of all, for those who are not familiar with kind of the setup or the way that a Chamber of Commerce works, what does that mean? What is a Chamber of Commerce?
So our Chamber of Commerce is a not-for-profit organization. It's a business group, kind of like a gym for businesses. We provide resources and opportunities for business to uplift themselves, make connections, meet people, grow their network, grow their skills, find out their purpose here in Walton County and what they're supposed to do. And it's membership-based and dues-driven.
Why do people join the Chamber?
People join the Chamber to make connections and be seen in Walton County. We have over 750 members. And if you average 2 to 3 employees per company, you have the opportunity to network and mingle with 3,000 local people that's right here that could be your future clients or customers or friends or even just a mentor for you.
Yeah. And so what's your job with the Chamber? What do you do?
Yeah, my newest title is Vice President of Operations.
Ooh, congratulations.
Thank you. I've been with the Chamber for 10 years. It's my second job out of college. It was a God wink getting it. I literally went up to the CEO at the time at a women's symposium because my mom told me that the Defuniak person was quitting, and I went up and I asked for the job. I was terrified, 22, scared to death. And she was like, sorry, I already gave the job to somebody, but I'll keep your resume.
Oh.
And this was on a Wednesday. Saturday morning, I get a call like, do you still want to start? Do you still want the job? The other lady won't take the pay and she doesn't want to work by herself in Defuniac. I said, yes. She said, the key will be on the door Monday. I'm going to email you all your paperwork, get it filled out, and you start. And so that's where I've been. I've had almost every job title in this company, and I'm so grateful for my CEO, Megan Harrison, who we've both been here 10 years. I started in June, and she started in October, and we have rode this chamber wave together, and she challenges me. She lets me live my faith. She encourages me. She has been the best boss that I could ever ask for.
Isn't that wonderful? So let's talk a little bit about living your faith. Yeah. For everybody, we made sure your hair is down today, but I want everybody to see your shirt. It says Salt and Light, Matthew 5:13 through 16.
Yeah.
Is that right? Can you tell us why you wore that shirt today?
I did. I'm young. I'm in my 30s, right? So we know how important light is. Light helps things grow. Light lets you see. But I recently found out the meaning of the salt. So I'm like, why do they say we're the salt and the light of the earth? Like, who cares about salt, right? Like, we use salt as a seasoning. But as I started researching, I found out how valuable salt was. So in biblical times, you got paid in salt, right?
Right.
And so salt was used to preserve food so your family could eat for longer times. Like, salt was used in medicine. Salt was used all the time, and salt was like the hottest commodity, And so I was like, wow, like, we're the hottest commodity to Jesus. But I didn't know the relevance of salt until just recently. And so now I'm always like, when I hear that verse or somebody brings it up, I'm like, you're a hot commodity, because people weren't thriving without salt back then. It was like, you didn't get cash, you got salt.
Yeah.
And so
that's so funny.
I really think it's really cool, because I think younger people don't know the significance of why he calls us the salt. And, we preserve things, we make things last, we make things grow and flourish, and we're so valuable. That's your paycheck. We're somebody's paycheck. And so
it's funny you say that. Speaking of paycheck, I read somewhere in talking about salt in the Bible that people were paid, including Roman soldiers, in salt, and that is the basis for our English word salary.
Oh, I didn't
Did you know that? Yeah.
No, that's
so when
cool.
you make a salary, you're literally getting paid in salt, even though it's electronic most of the time these days.
Isn't that something? Wow.
Let's talk about the light part.
Yeah.
One of our favorite things to talk about in our church is how you get a chance to shine the light of Christ to others. You shine the light of Christ to everybody you meet. What does that mean to you, though?
That means that everybody I see can see Jesus through me. I try to bring joy to situations that might not be joyous. I try to work hard so people like your book. God is, we're created in his image, and he was created to work. So I try to work hard to show that that's part of his image. I just believe that one of my gifts is being a servant. And so I just try to serve others in every area I can, even if it's not related to work. If somebody calls, and I have a great story. Somebody called the chamber, and everybody thinks the chamber can do everything, right? And so this lady...
Well, you were just talking about how the chamber is like a superpower, right?
Right. So this lady calls, and she's like 80, and she says, I had a friend that moved to Defuniac, and she's like my long-lost friend, and I love her, and my husband died, and I just want to reconnect with her. Can you give me her phone number? I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to make it my mission to do this, and I'm going to reconnect you with your long-lost friend that moved to Defuniac, because you're hurting because your husband died and you're longing for this connection. I went on Facebook. I'm like, listen up, Defuniac. I am looking for this woman. Please help me find her. Somebody knew her. Somebody gave me her phone number. I called the lady back, gave her phone number. This lady was in Wisconsin. They called. They were so happy.
Oh, that's awesome.
I got a follow-up from them. They visited each other, and that's not part of my job.
No.
But that's part of bringing the light and making connections and just being there for people and showing up when they need it.
I love that, Gabby. Not every business is the same when it comes to their approach to faith. You mentioned that Megan, as the CEO, gives you, the flexibility and the freedom to express your faith.
Right.
But as Maya and I were talking about last month, some businesses not only don't provide that freedom, in many cases they squelch it.
Right.
What does it look like to you in the workplace to express your faith, and how important is that to you as somebody who comes to the work every day?
It's extremely important to me because if you don't want my faith, you don't want me, because that's who I am. That's ingrained in me. I've worked so hard to walk this faith and not feel ashamed of it, and not let my past make me ashamed of what I believe now. But what it looks like in the workplace is like showing up wearing shirts that have Bible verses, or if my coworker's struggling, I'm like, let's stop, let's pray. Praying at events, praying over people, praying over their businesses, and being bold, but where it can also help them. So I think that's how I show my faith in the workplace, and how, my boss allows me to show that. And then also, if we're struggling, doing affirmations together, Christian affirmations, to be bold and manifest it and say it out loud, and living out loud for Jesus.
For those of you who are listening or watching this podcast on YouTube, we're going to record that Christian affirmation afterwards. So make sure you check it out on social media in the future. Gabby, have you ever, just to kind of turn that a little bit? I mean, we've had a very difficult month. Today is the last day of September.
Yeah.
It's been a difficult month for the nation. It's been a month where we have been reminded once again that all God's children don't get along well,
Right.
for a number of different reasons. When you are so happy and ready to shine the light of Christ to others in the workplace, have you ever met with anybody who disagreed with that or didn't like you doing that? And if so, what happened?
Yeah, and I feel like I still struggle with that some. So I have friends from college that are atheists, and that they don't believe the way I do, and I don't want to shove something in their face. So I know that they don't believe in prayer, and I don't want them to. I don't want to shove anything on anybody. I want my light to shine so that they might, change their ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I will make sure that, instead, like they're going through something, I won't say, all right, well, I'm about to pray for you. I will say that you're in my heart, and I'm going to be there for you. I send you all the positive thoughts that I can give, and I know that in their heart they know I'm praying for them, but I don't have to force it on them, and I don't have to say it. And we have had somebody in the past, we pray at our events. Why do you pray? Like, what if somebody doesn't like it?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I hope they would come to me if they don't like it. And I would let them know that they can use our prayer time for whatever they want. If they want to have a minute of silence and do whatever they want to do, that's fine. But right now, that's what we're going to do, because that's how we run our operation.
So you mentioned that you have this respect for the CEO, but you also have folks, at least one other person that work for you. Now that you're a VP, I don't know what your staff looks like. How do you convey that to the people that work with you and work for you?
How do I convey?
Just this spirit of, I've got you in my heart and I've got you in my prayers. I mean, you mentioned the affirmation. Where did that come from? And what got you to start doing that on a daily basis?
I really believe that for things to happen, we have to speak. And so, like God, He created the world with speaking it. And so I haven't really been an affirmation person, and I was doing research in affirmation, because some affirmations are not of God, right? So people feel like they can manifest things, they can say things, and it comes from them. They're creating it. The universe is creating. No, anything you say, it's coming from God or somewhere else, And so
Right.
I wanted to be able to speak life, speak grace, speak confidence in myself and my staff, but I wanted it to be from God. And so I had prayed, Lord, give me, a word to say, a word that I can speak over them, a word that I can share with them when we're struggling, because I do believe our words have power, just like His words have power. And I felt like it was important to create something like that.
I love that. One of the questions I asked, we were talking earlier about the hospital just down the way from here, Ascension Sacred Heart, Emerald Coast. When I was talking to Trey, the CEO there, I asked him, what's the impact to you, having been in for-profit hospitals for 19 years and now at Sacred Heart for 1? What's the impact of starting a meeting with prayer? And he gave me a terrific answer. from your perspective in starting a meeting with prayer, whether it's a big event for members of the chamber or even members of your own staff? What does that look like? What's the importance of that to you? And what do you think's the impact of it?
I feel like the importance of prayer is setting the tone. How do we want this to go? How do we want to feel? What do we want to learn from it? By just saying it ahead of time and ushering in his presence, I know even if something goes crazy, it's going to be okay because I've already postured my heart and I've already prayed over the people in the organization that, we're going to get through it and everything is going to be okay. We don't always end with prayer, but I think that's a great thing to do to close out everything and make sure everybody got what they need. Not everybody knows what they need. I don't know what I need half the time. My husband asks me all the time, and I'm like, well, I don't know if I don't know, or there's a list so long that I can't repeat it.
But what a blessing you have a husband who asks you what you need.
He does.
That's great.
He's my second husband, and he's the best one yet. So it's great. We communicate really well. And
that's awesome. So you don't always end your meetings with prayer, but you know that God goes with you wherever you go.
Correct.
Yeah. So, Gabby, we have some lawyers and accountants who listen and watch the podcast. The Chamber of Commerce is a 501c6, so it's tax exempt. It's but a business association. Right. There's another part of the Chamber's activities, the foundation, that's 501c3.
Yes.
So public charity, people can donate, they get the tax deduction, all of that. Tell us about the foundation and what it does.
Yes. So in recent years, I would say the foundation's become my heart, my passion project, my baby.
All right.
We have lots of incredible programs, but two that just really live out my servant leadership that I feel. And one of those is Leadership Walton. So it's a 9-month program where we focus on personal development and community development. So people go through this, they get a mentor, they go through Dale Carnegie, they connect with each other, they get DISC assessment, they learn how to work with each other, they do a class project that gives back to a local nonprofit that's part of the chamber. And it's just a wonderful experience, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience that I don't think a lot of people get the opportunity to go through. And so I'm so grateful that I get to create the curriculum for it. I get to work with the Leadership Walton attendees and participants. I get to work with the mentors, and we get our mentors through another foundation program called Mentoring Emerald Coast. And so that is where we match up mentors with our mentees to make sure that they're successful. They accomplish their 2 professional goals and 1 personal goal, and just watching their growth through all of it over 9 months is wild. But I started doing this program 7 years ago, so I was like 20 something. And at the time it was just work. Like, oh, I got to do this. I got to get these people lunch. I got to make sure these people are meeting. Like, right. I got to grab a bus and go to Tallahassee with them, And now it's more than that. I realize that you are bringing up the next generation of people. You are helping them get promotions in their job to take care of their family and to help send their kids to college and just be more successful and have the opportunity to give back more and have more funds to be generous and give to those that are in need, and teaching them how to give through their class project is huge. And so now it's more like a project instead of just work. How can I be more impactful? And it's so exciting to me when people that are past class attendees come back and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm the owner of this. I started my own business.
Oh, that's great.
Oh my gosh, I just spoke in front of 3,000 people at an event from a connection I made in Leadership Walton. And I'm like, I had a small part in that, and God used me for that. And so it's super exciting to me.
Helped plant the seed that then grows into something even bigger. Let's talk about that. That last bit that you just mentioned, God used you for the purpose of good. One of the things we talk about in the Christian capitalist movement is that the very first thing we know in Genesis is that God works, right? And we're made in his image to work. It seems to me that based on what you just said, that you're doing God's work in doing Leadership Walton, that you're glorifying God through your work. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. And that was my aha moment in your book.
Oh, all right. Because, nice segue.
And that's what I shared with our keynote, that's speaking at the next big thing. But, we hear all the time, you're created in his image, you're created in his image. What does that mean? Does he have hair? Does he have long brown hair?
Right.
No, God don't, right? Does that mean that, he's compassionate and you're compassionate? Like, what does that mean? And so when I was reading it, and it was like, he works. Like, God is literally working all the time, every day. And so that means that we're supposed to work too. And I love to work. And sometimes people are like, you need to just slow down, stop working so much. No, that's what my God created me to do.
Exactly.
I'm created in his image. Like, I'm just being God. I'm just doing what God called me to do. You know, I'm working.
There's a day for rest. He built that into the schedule,
yes.
right?
So that was such a beautiful moment. Like, oh, he works all the time. I can work too. Like, it's okay to work. Like, we're called to work because that's what he does.
And the flip side of the coin, I really believe this, that the flip side of the coin is when people don't work for beyond a vacation, or,
Right.
sabbatical or something, when people don't work for extended periods of time, they fall into this state of mind, and state of heart that's just, it's dismal because they're not doing what God made them to do, right? To get down to it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever experienced that before with someone that you know? You're obviously a hard worker, but have you ever seen that before in other people, where if they're not working, you can just tell they're kind of forlorn?
Yes, I joke with my husband all the time that I want to be a stay-at-home mom, and he says, "You would die. You literally have to work.
Yeah,
like you would die, Gabby, if you couldn't work and work as much as you want." I'm like, you're right, but it's a good concept, right?
right.
And so, I look at some people sometimes not stay-at-home mom because they're working harder than we're working, right? Like, I would not really want to be a stay-at-home
I couldn't do it.
mom.
Yeah.
I have a 2-year-old and I love him to death and he's my Daniel, but I don't want to be at home all day with him. I love
Right.
nighttime and I love snuggles. But I have known people that, would get sediment. They didn't find a job, so they stopped looking. Then they're living on somebody's couch. And then, it leads to a lot of issues. It leads to depression. It leads to not having any self-worth. It leads to them not wanting to go to church. It leads to them feeling like a failure. And then, they're wondering why does my life look like this? Why do I feel so dark? It's because you're not doing what you were called to do. We all have a purpose, and sitting there not doing anything and laying on a couch and feeling bad about yourself is not what God created you to do.
Exactly.
So you are not fulfilling his image of working and giving back to society and being a part of the body and the community. That's why you're feeling that way.
Exactly. And so
it's hard to tell people that.
It is hard to tell people that, and probably very hard for somebody in that situation to hear that.
Right.
And then to do something about it.
Exactly.
So you mentioned that the foundation has a lot of different involvement in the community, including our friends just down the street at Caring and Sharing.
Yes.
So let's talk about what the foundation does beyond Leadership Walton and the mentor program.
So the foundation and the chamber, we work hard at promoting our nonprofits in the community that are chamber members and that support us. So we did have a recent business after hours at Caring and Sharing of South Walton. They talked about their mission. They talked about exciting things. They talked about how many families they care for, provide financial assistance for it. They have a diaper drive going on right now. We also have For Her, which is a nonprofit that helps breast cancer survivors get to their treatments, get funds that they need to pay their bills. We also work with A Bed for Me, which gives children beds that don't have one. So anybody's sleeping on the couch or sleeping on the floor, Miss Diane is great. There's just so many nonprofits that we work with, but we promote their drives. We promote their initiatives. If they need volunteers, we have a whole section designated in our newsletter for nonprofit needs.
I love that. The newsletter is fantastic.
So,
Would you tell folks, we'll put this in the show notes, but tell us about the newsletter. How often does it come out and what are you talking about?
So yes, the newsletter is the vein of my existence. No, I'm just kidding. I have to give it to the marketing person.
Well, right. But I'm surprised. Listen, it's 2025. Everything's on social media now.
So
Newsletter sounds like, I get on my horse and buggy and deliver the mail.
So I did a marketing training recently. I'm not in marketing. Like, my background is communications. But
really?
They said,
I would have never guessed.
Most of the time, you still need that newsletter because people are still checking their emails. And sometimes they are going to open it. And it's not just sometimes. It's more than sometimes. Our open rate is almost 52%.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Out of the 5,000 people that get the newsletter, at least 2,500 are opening it, and enjoying it, and clicking on it.
And do y'all do email and snail mail? Or is it just email?
Just email. We do snail mail for invoices if you want to be a chamber member and pay for something as sponsored. But we have 2 newsletters that go out a week. Monday is our chamber newsletter. So that's our chamber happenings, our chamber highlights, the foundation, Elements, Leadership Walton. We are looking for mentors. By the way, we still need 7 more good professional mentors.
Speaking of email, I have an email from you that I need to respond to. My bad. You talked me into it through our podcast today. Yay. I need to.
So we do have that Monday one. It's all about the chamber. So our board, anybody, anything connected to the chamber is in there. Thursday is our community newsletter. So if we have an update from FDOT on traffic or road work, we'll put that in there. County commissioner meetings that are coming up, we put that in there. County commissioner recaps that we put in there. We put the news flashes from the county in there. That's where we have our nonprofit section. All of our community events that our chamber members are throwing. If you have a job opening for your business, we put that in there. We want to always make sure that we're promoting the jobs of this community. So yeah, Thursday is all about the community.
I love it. That's great. And that sounds like a lot of work to do a weekly newsletter times 2.
Yeah, it's about 16 hours, 8 hours for each of them.
Plus, you got to get all the stuff to write.
Yes.
Right? And gather the information.
Thank God for Maya.
We're looking over here because Maya is our live studio audience. We thank God for Maya every day.
Yes.
That's good. Hey, so we talked about the nonprofits that the foundation supports, and the fact that the chamber is full of businesses, right? But not everybody starts off their relationship with the chamber of the foundation in business. You mentioned that you're starting to apply for grants to help people get started in business.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so I'm a brand new grant writer. I
think that's like 15 hats you're wearing now as the VP of Operations.
Maybe. I've written my first 3 grants ever this year.
Congratulations.
We've made it, one of the big ones, we've made it through the letter of intent. We've made it through our site visit, and now we're waiting for the call to let us know we're in this last running. But part of that, our board president for this year, her name's Lane Redding. We are celebrating 100 years of service this year.
Wow.
In October marks 100 years that the Walton Area Chamber of Commerce has been around here in Walton County. And so her word for the year was elevate. And so we took that and kind of ran with it. And we know that one of the challenges in Walton County is having employees that meet the needs of the employer. So are they properly trained? Do they have the skills that the company needs? And we wanted to combat that because we're always looking for ways to fix stuff. That's what the chamber does is we're fixers and we're going to find solutions. So we created a Elevate Walton Workforce initiative. And part of that is we want to be able to give micro grants and scholarship opportunities to people in the community who want to start business, who want to get certified in certain areas, and make sure that they have the opportunities, especially our underserved communities that, they might not have the funds to go take a $400 test right now, but it would catapult their future and their children's future and their grandchildren's future if they were just to get that opportunity. So we want to be able to provide that. We want to make the chamber an entrepreneur hub. We want to have the technology to do Zoom meetings properly and have good sound equipment. We want to have laptops that people can rent out and use for meetings if they need to, if they don't have that in their storehouse just yet when they're starting off. We want to make sure that we are a good climate for entrepreneurs and businesses that just don't have all the resources to start. Yeah. And we'll help them get those.
That's so valuable. As you're talking, I'm thinking of a friend of Rebecca's and a couple of a married couple who's interested in starting a food truck business, and another married couple that's interested in starting a bakery. These kind of things would be fantastic, because there are a licensure process to go through, training to figure out what you need to do to get a license, and all of that. I think that's so valuable.
We also have another amazing resource that you can share with them. On Wednesdays here at the Chamber, we house the Small Business Development Center out of the University of West Florida, Jennifer, and she does free consultations to anybody that wants to start a business, advertise a business, whatever you want. It's completely free. She has office hours. She wants to hit quotas. So we are trying to drive traffic to her.
Great.
But she has had some clients that have wanted to start similar businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that she would absolutely love to meet with them.
Fantastic.
And she's a wealth of knowledge. She doesn't know it. She's going to find it out, and she's going to get back to you super quickly. And she loves data, and she's a wealth of information.
That's
We love
fantastic.
having her here. It's so special that our businesses have access to her, but it's completely free for anybody in the community. You don't have to be part of the chamber. I don't even think you have to be part of Walton County.
No,
if you want her service, she is there and
Isn't
ready.
that cool?
Yeah.
So as we talk about the foundation being a charity, that means that people can give to it, and if they choose, they can get a tax deduction from that. What do you think makes people give to the foundation? What encourages or inspires somebody to give?
So yeah, I have a great story. When I started here, there was a couple named Joan and Steve Carter. They actually live in Destin. And at the time, they helped create the groundwork and the foundation for mentoring Emerald Coast. It used to be called Build. And they just felt like it was their job to give back to the community, give back to emerging leaders. And Steve has this wonderful saying. We probably beat it over the head a lot, but it's such a good saying. And he says that he does what he does and gives because he's sending the elevator back down. He is already at the top, and all he knows is he needs to send it back down to bring people up to the top. And I think that's so beautiful. That's why he was a mentor for so long. He would open up his penthouse in Destin and have wonderful events for us to make sure that we could have good mentors. They would throw mentoring mixers, and they would have a private chef come in, and they had a wine cellar, and they would, open up their best bottles for everybody. And they would ask people to give and support the initiative of bringing that elevator back down and bringing up people to the top with them. And I've always thought that was such a beautiful statement, because when you get to the top, if nobody's up there with you, then what are you doing?
Well, that's exactly right. The same can be true of heaven. Right. So when we sat down, you mentioned Paul and Timothy.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that. When Paul is writing to Timothy in particular, as you know, Christian Capitalist is based on 1 Timothy 6, 16 or 17 through 19, where Paul's telling Timothy, listen, as for those in the present age who are rich, which is a great way to talk about those people then and us people now.
Right.
Tell them not to not brag, but to be ready to share and quick to give, to build up the treasure that is really life. When we sat down, you mentioned, though, that about kind of your work here and kind of what's on your mind about that. What are you thinking about when it comes to generosity and how that works in your day-to-day life?
I feel like there's a lot of ways you can be generous. You can be generous with your time. You can be generous with your talents. You can be generous with your gifts. And I think for me, it's just making sure that everybody has what they need to be successful. And sometimes that is time, and sometimes that's money. There have been many times in the workplace where, an example, so in Definiak, it's a little bit rural. We don't have Ubers or Lyfts. Some gentleman came to me and said he'd been living in his car for 3 days. He doesn't have any money. His car broke down here when he was visiting his brother in prison, and he just needs to get back to Georgia. And I'm like, how am I supposed to help you, And he had said that he went to a church on Sunday, and they bought him a bus ticket. Our nearest bus station is Fort Walton Beach, a Greyhound bus ticket. He's like, I can't get there. I can't get anybody to get me there. I didn't feel comfortable to drive him, right?
Yeah.
And so at the time I was single, and I was like, I don't want to, I don't know what to do,
Right.
And so I started Facebooking, looking up like taxi services or something for Definiak. And I found one that would take him to Fort Walton, but it cost $100. And he was like, well, I don't have any money left. And I was like, you know what? Here's $100. I'm going to call the company. I'm going to give them the $100, and they're going to take you there. And he was like, give me your name, your number, your phone. Like, let me give it back to you. I'm like, I don't know. I'm good. This was my good work for you. And I feel like that happens to me often. I will be sitting and eating lunch at my office, and people will come in and say they're hungry. Here's my lunch. I'm gonna give whatever I can. And so I don't want to brag on that. Probably haven't told many people that story. I just wanted him to get where he needed to go safely.
You're not bragging. The whole point of this this podcast and this movement is to inspire people to do likewise, right?
I was just grateful I had the $100 to be able to pay the taxi driver to get him to the bus stop so he could get home.
And so you shared the blessing that God gave you with someone else who was poor and needy. In that case, both. Who do you think was more blessed, him or you?
I feel like I was more blessed.
Why?
I got to send somebody home that couldn't get home, and that's all they longed for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where home is to everybody, but that was his home, and that's the only place he wanted to go, and he couldn't get there, and I got him there for only $100.
Exactly. Now, during that process, did you pray?
I did pray. I was praying the whole time because I was a little bit scared.
Yeah.
He was kind, but he looked a little bit rough.
Yeah. Living in a car for 3 days will do that to you.
He looked a little bit rough. He said he'd probably walked like 20 miles in the last 2 days to just try to find resources or find help. And he was like, I just don't know what else to do. And I didn't pray with him. I was like, do you believe in Jesus? And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, well, this is from him.
Right on.
So,
and you know what happens when you're a messenger from God? That makes you an angel. Isn't that cool?
It is cool. That's why my mom named me Gabrielle.
Really?
And she hates when people call me Gabby.
I've been calling you Gabby the whole time. Would have been great to mention like 3 hours ago.
Everybody calls me Gabby. Everybody calls me Gabby, but my mom's like, no, I gave you that name from God. But everybody calls me Gabby, so don't feel bad about it.
Well, for those who aren't familiar with the angels and archangels and all the company of heaven, what does Gabrielle have to do with an angel?
So it's kind of the female version of Gabriel.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he was an archangel, and my mom believes I'm an angel.
And what was Gabriel famous for?
Music, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was musically talented.
Exactly.
Just like Lucifer.
So there's some positive and negative energy in the world, isn't there?
There is.
Yeah. And yet shining the light of Christ can help defeat that time after time.
Yes.
We talked a little bit at the outset about how we are made in God's image to work.
Yes.
As you know from a recent book that someone gave you, we also know that we're made in God's image to give.
Right.
And so when you talk about, I don't want to brag, I'm just sharing my lunch, I'm just going the extra mile to get somebody to go to a town. For those of y'all who aren't familiar with the area, Defuniak and Fort Walton are 30, 40 miles away. It's not really walkable. That, just like work, is what God called you to do, because we know that he made us in his image, and we know that he gave. I mean, he gave us life, and he gave us his son, Jesus.
Right.
So how do you feel about giving as a calling, like work?
I feel great, because I think with money, I heard this one time, and it makes so much sense to me, that if you're a good steward of the resources and money God gives you, he'll give you more. And so I don't really have a problem. I saw a lady at Walmart eating her lunch on like a picnic blanket, and I had $20 in my glove department. That's my emergency funds for gas if I lose my card or my card gets you never know. And I heard the Lord say, give it to her. And I gave it to her. And then I was, talking to a person later that day, and he was telling me about something really cool. And he just slipped me $100 out of nowhere. He was like, I love talking to you. Here's $100. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got the money back, right? And
times 5. Yeah. I'll take a high five on that. That's fantastic.
I don't want to say that happens to me a lot, but it kind of does. I met another lady who was sitting on a bench around the lake yard crying. I stopped, asked her what happened. She was in a bad domestic violence episode with her husband. And, she was just struggling, and she's waiting for her sister to come pick her up. It was 6 a.m., and she was just saying, I was like, here's some money to get breakfast. And she was like, thank you. Later that day, I went to the drive-thru, and somebody paid for my lunch.
Isn't that great?
I'm like, God, look at you. And so I don't have a problem giving, even if it's my last, because I know I'm getting it back. I know I'm being a good steward. I, recently started investing and have a financial advisor, and I really believe that if you're a good steward of your money and your resources, that it will come back to you. And so Give away.
Exactly. Well, and it's so funny you say that. Give away. I mean, that's just the whole point of the movement, right? Is make as much money as you want, but you got to remember to give it away. God doesn't want us to be rich just to sit around and count our money.
Right.
You have to share it with others. And I'm so glad, even those 2 or 3 little stories you just told us reinforce the point that when we give, we are blessing and we are likewise blessed.
Right.
And in most of the cases that I've ever talked to anybody about this, the blessing is many times more than what you would give.
Exactly.
You think?
Yes.
Now, you were talking about the keynote for the next big thing, and he gave you a compliment that wasn't measured in dollars and cents.
No, it wasn't.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So I was talking to the keynote, and he was wanting to know about the event, the attendees, everything, that was going on, so he could be prepared and show up as his best self. I gave him a little compliment. I shared about the chamber. I shared about the event, shared about the passion of everything. And he was telling me about his book, and I had asked, we talked about a recent book I got from you. And I shared the aha moment about us being created in God's image to work and how God works and things. And when we got done, he closed the conversation with, "It was so good to meet somebody like you." And it really pulled on my heartstrings. I cried for a second because I just showed up as my authentic self. And, he saw somebody that was bold in their faith. He saw somebody that was positive. He saw somebody that was passionate about their work. And it really made my heart happy. And so when I got home in the evening, when we sit down at dinner with our kids, we say, one thing that was not really great about your day and one thing that was positive about your day. And so I shared that with my family as my positive, and daughter's like, "Why are you crying, Mom?" And my husband's like, "What do they mean by that?" And I think that you can interpret it in so many ways, but I interpreted it in a way that made me feel great. And I can't wait to say that to other people when they show up just as they are, because a lot of times we have self-doubt, like, did we talk too much? Did we not listen too much? Are we too happy? Do we have too much of a big personality? Did we say something that's going to offend them? And it doesn't matter. Just show up as your authentic self, and people that recognize that will recognize that, and people that don't, that's their problem.
Yep, and they will say that all day long. It's so good to meet somebody like you. So Gabby, as we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to tell us about the foundation? Are there any big events coming up that we can put in the show notes or tell folks about on social media?
Yes. We have an amazing golf tournament coming up on November 3rd at Camp Creek.
Okay.
I've worked 3 years to get it at Camp Creek, and I'm really excited to have it there. That helps all of our foundation programs like Mentoring and MOCOS, Leadership Walton, our youth leadership program within the high schools, and our young professional program grow. So I'm really excited about that event that's coming up. And then in the beginning of 2026, we have our annual gala coming up. This is where we share the successes of the past year and look at the future. And this year we're going with a legacy theme because we'll be 100-ish. And so I'm really excited about that. So,
and where is the gala going to be?
It will be at the Hilton Sandestin.
The Hilton. That's great.
So, yeah.
That's great. Well, Gabby, you got a chance to read the book and shared a little bit with us about that. So we've had such a terrific conversation talking about work and faith and giving and all the things that are in the subject of the book. But our signature question on the podcast is, what does it mean to you to be a Christian capitalist? And now that you've had a chance to read the book, what do you think? What does that mean?
It means to give because nothing's really yours. Everything is God's. So why not give it? It's not yours in the first place.
Beautiful. Gabby, thank you so much. I sure appreciate it. Everybody, thanks so much for joining us. See, I've done it again. Thanks so much for joining us today in our conversation with Gabrielle Hamilton from the Walton Chamber and Walton Chamber Foundation. It's our pleasure to get a chance to talk to her about hard work and generous giving to the poor and needy in the name of Jesus. Don't forget to watch this full episode on YouTube, follow us on social media, and check out more at christiancapitalist.life. I'm Rich Sanders with the Christian Capitalists, where the more we make, the more we give.